This is wildlife biologist Eric Orff with my New Hampshire Fish and Wildlife YouTube channel. Flock of geese just went by. Got my hat on. It's hunting season in New Hampshire. Make sure if you're a hiker or a dog walker or a hunter, make sure you have your fluorescent orange hat on, because it is fall hunting season in New Hampshire. So fall is upon us. But you know, it's about an hour. Here it is, October, I think it's 6th. It's warm today. It's about an hour before sunset, or a little less, and it's 60-something degrees out. And tonight, I think I'm going to hear crickets again. Last night, I heard a couple. It was like 54, 55 degrees. Well, I hear crickets. They usually don't cricket unless it's 55. So, you know, there's 15 different kinds of crickets in New Hampshire, including camel crickets and mole crickets. And they just are such an important part of the wildlife here in New Hampshire. Yes, crickets are an important part of our wildlife. So the cricket life history, the females lay their eggs in the soil, and that's where they overwinter. And in spring they hatch out, and nymphs hatch out into crickets, and over the summer, it takes about 2 months, they grow. But you know what? In another 3 or 4 weeks, I doubt it'll be a month. What's going to happen? Mother Nature is going to get out her frost and freezing sigh. And she's going to, in one night, we're going to have a hard frost, a freeze. And there are millions and millions of crickets across New Hampshire. And in that one night, wherever it freezes like that, they will all be dead. Our crickets will be gone. Yes, each winter, crickets survive by laying eggs in the soil. They'll hatch in the spring into nymphs and then into grasshoppers, which take a couple of months to grow. So Mother Nature will be changing New Hampshire dramatically. I love getting out in the summer into the early fall, and at least getting outside and walking around or sitting on my deck and listening to the crickets. So as I say, there's like 15 different kinds of crickets. So you hear a chirp here and a different chirp there, and the cicadas that sometimes sound off too, and of course grasshoppers by day. But it's the night chorus that I so enjoy, the late summer evenings when it's still warm. And tonight, it's 64 now, less than an hour before sunset, we'll have crickets again tonight until they freeze to death. They all will be gone. So what does this mean? Well, I can't help but think about our turkeys. You know, New Hampshire had no turkeys for over 100 years. Here in New Hampshire, the last one I think was killed in 1854 in the town of Warner, I think, until they were successfully reintroduced in the 1970s by the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department. The wildlife biologist worked on restoring turkeys, and of course Ted Walsky, famous Ted Walsky, nurtured that beginning flock of turkeys, of 25 turkeys, and now I think we have something like 40,000 turkeys in New Hampshire. So turkeys, they breed in early spring, and the females are laying their eggs in April, and then the hen sits on the eggs through the month of May. So by the end of May, early June, the turkeys are hatching out into polts. Turkey babies are called polts. So what happens then? Well, guess what? That's about the same time that these baby crickets that hatched in May and in early June are by the millions upon millions. So I'm just thinking how easy it is. A turkey, you know, they roost in the trees at night and they fly down from the tree. And as soon as they're on the ground in the field is full of crickets. They have lots and lots of food all summer long, eating crickets and grasshoppers. And as the crickets mature and get bigger, so don't the poults. So hand in hand, the crickets are raising our summer turkeys into young turkeys that by fall are bigger than chickens. So they're quite big. But you know, I noticed this summer, and I had other people tell me the same thing, even though we were in a drought that really started in April, which was very good for most of our birds. Ruffed grouse and turkeys are really impacted by a wet spring, a wet early summer, and kills many of the young off. But this year, probably a lot of them survive. But I did notice, and as some of my friends did as well, midsummer we had some very small turkey poults. So maybe a raccoon got the nest or a skunk, and she had to lay some more eggs and hatch off another whole later batch. So You know, not all turkeys grow up at the same time, so there are some stragglers that straggle into summer and into early fall that are still pretty small. So I'm thinking, okay, Mother Nature kills off all the crickets, and that next morning when the turkeys fly down to feast on the crickets and grasshoppers, there are none. So here is Mother Nature preparing the wildlife for winter. It'll be the strongest baby turkeys, the baby polts, that will find food. It'll be the strongest that will survive. So it's not necessarily winter that kills everything off. Mother Nature starts early. She kills off the grasshoppers and kills off the crickets. Things get harder for much of our wildlife, particularly the birds and the turkeys. So that's ongoing now. So in another 3 or 4 weeks, Mother Nature will come in here in central New Hampshire and change things dramatically. And it's the smart, strong turkeys that will survive, and those that are not will not survive. So that is a connection between crickets and turkeys in my mind. Don't forget to hit the like button.